That's
to
true.
Iraq.
You were one of
Yep.
my first flight leads
Yep.
in that.
Hmm.
But before that is when you had um, an incident,
Yep.
if you
Yes,
will,
I did.
that is actually included in this book, and it's a very good story. So please, uh,
Sure.
the floor
Sure.
is yours.
So the 2007, I don't know if you guys remember this, there was a little bit of saber rattling going on with Taiwan, all right? And the whole idea of, are we going to protect them? We were talking about it at the time back then, and it was, we had just finished doing an ORI and a lot of air to ground stuff. And as you know, Fighter Pilot 101, we always want to show up and have a desired learning objective with every mission that we go into. So we're
Yep.
always trying to get better, always. And no different than any fighter pilot out there or anybody that's trying to be good at their job. And we've done so much air to ground. Now we're starting to get back into air to air again, '06 and '07. And for me, I was just getting checked out as a two ship, and I was still learning to feeling pretty good about my skills, my air to air skills, in BFM and BVR. And I decided on this red air because that day it was a day mission turned to night mission. So I had a chance. I'm like, this is a great opportunity. You got Taiwan, you have the Strait. Where are we going to be possibly? If we have to fight, we're going to be over the water.
Yep.
So why don't I learn how to do these tactics? I'll practice in the day and I'll try and perfect it at night. Now, the maneuver that I was practicing is pretty aggressive. We can't talk about the specific maneuver, but I practiced it in the daytime and I made some mistakes per the book, our TTPs, 3-1. I didn't quite execute correctly.
Yep.
And I thought, okay, well, I'll clean it up tonight when we go out there tonight. So we know about the holes in Swiss cheese. We all talk about it as pilots. The Swiss cheese and lining up the holes. So essentially what had happened was that when we fight air to air, as you know, you typically fight same configurations. So I'm tanked up, blue air's tanked up,
right.
Red air's tanked up, we're same configuration. You don't fight them. We're not fighting like a clean jet versus a dirty jet. Well, on this particular night, the only two jets they had left were clean F-16s, no rails, no missiles.
Ooh.
Yeah, nothing.
Oh.
I didn't put that. I didn't have the experience, or my biggest pilot error was not saying to myself, Pete, this is a mean machine you got here, and you're not. This is going to hurt you. So, and you're not configured like you normally are. So your performance just went up like significantly.
Right.
So be careful in executing this maneuver. That didn't even register me. I mean, to me, it was like, okay, now I have the true jet that I could be engaging in, and I didn't line that thread up.
Yeah.
Okay, so we went out there. It was a beautiful night, over the water, about 7:20 at night, and we're over there in Key West, and Whiskey, the 174, I think it was.
Yep.
And lead sends me out on our first presentation. But what had happened now, to add more fuel to the fire, is Blue Air was late, and we're clean, so we're running out of gas, right? Mm-hmm. So he has to modify the game plan. Instead of doing like an easy maneuver, the first one, now we have to kind of get into it a little bit and get it over quickly so that they have something to see on the in and something to see on the out. And I decided to go ahead and, based on the night vision goggles and the illumination and the horizon and the cultural lighting off of Tampa and the coast, I thought, oh, this is no problem. I can execute this maneuver. I mean, it's a great horizon. It turned out not to be. 24,000 feet is when I started the maneuver. And of course I executed the maneuver, and I was passing about 18,000 feet. And I noticed something I had turned to the west, which was a bad move. Another lineup hole in the Swiss cheese. I should have turned to the east where there was cultural lighting off the coast in Florida.
Oh, yeah.
I turned to the west.
Okay.
I turned to the west. We have shrimp boats out there, and that night we had a strip of clouds. It was like a belt of clouds.
Okay.
On the
like
over the water.
Complete undercast.
It was an undercast.
Just some clouds. Yeah. Okay.
No, it was like a strip, but several of them, almost like a wave motion, right?
Gotcha.
So it looked like the flag behind you on your back there. Okay, so our flag. Just think of it like the white on the stripes of the flag. That was over the water, almost perfectly, banded out across the water to the west. And shrimp boats were out there, so I did the maneuver, and I'm flying. It looks like a perfect 30-degree nose low maneuver, just like we would as we're descending into our safety block of airspace, which was 10 to 14,000 feet I had to get to.
Yep.
And as I'm passing 18,000 feet, I start to hear the hum of the canopy, which only happens, as you know, when we start getting close to the Mach. And I'm like, why am I going so fast? I shouldn't be going that fast. I'm back at idle. I'm clean jet. I shouldn't be going this fast. And at the time that I did that, I was looking at my radar and my saddle setting up for my next maneuver. So all my cross check was inside the cockpit.
Yeah.
But I heard the noise, and so now my head comes up. But instinctively, because I heard the noise, I had pulled back on the stick.
Yeah.
And when I pulled back on the stick, now the picture that I was flying off of changed, and it was just pitch black. And I'm like, okay, something's not right. I just went from a horizon to no horizon. What happened? And I'm like, okay, cross-check altitude. I'm 18,000 feet. I'm descending fast. Well, I got a minute before, a couple of seconds before I get into my block. Let me look to the right, because I only turned 90 degrees, and see if I can see Tampa and the coast, because I just came from seeing that. So I look to the right, nothing. It's black. And I go, okay, well, something's not right. All right, we'll get this together when I get in my block. So as I'm passing 14,000 feet, I go, all right, level off. I pull on the stick, and I was inverted. So I went nose down.
Oh, no.
Even further. Yeah.
Oh, no.
So essentially what had happened was when I looked to the right, I was already inverted. I had rolled the jet over, because as you know, this airplane, when you're going that fast, it doesn't take much.
Right.
And you can be on your back. So I was already inverted in my block, and I pulled, and I'm about 80 degrees nose low. That buried, as you know, in the old days, we had a small ADI in our pedestal.
Days, that's what I flew. God.
Yeah, exactly. You flew.
Yeah. All right. Continue. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. So that ADI is buried. All I'm looking at is a dot, and I go, I've exceeded the limitations of the ADI. Past 65 degrees, there's no information.
Yeah.
So I didn't know which way to point the tail. I didn't bring the sky pointer at that second. I didn't bring it into my cross check at all. I was like, I got to get the lines quick, because I am doing 600 bills straight towards the water. And of course, I went straight to 9Gs and tried to get into some lines. And I was just doing the John F. Kennedy death spiral. I got to 7,000, 6,000. And you're supposed to get out if you're out of control at 6,000. But I was doing almost 500 knots. And being a life support officer for as many years as I was like, well, I know that's the red zone.
Yeah. No, that's not
500
good.
knots is the red zone. If I try to punch out here, I'm probably going to get ripped apart. And I got to slow this thing down. So I kept the G's in, had the boards out, and I tried to get it into some lines. And as I'm doing that, the clouds start reflecting all the ambient light into the night vision goggles. And now I can see again. I'm seeing clouds, black clouds. And I say, okay, this is not working fast enough. Recognize, confirm, recover is not working fast enough. As you know, as a pilot, all we got to do is see a horizon. If we see a horizon, we can quickly snap the airplane to where we want it to go to get level with the horizon.
Yeah.
I quickly tried to do that and attempt that. It didn't work. It was just a milk bowl. It was quick. Oh, no, I got to go back to here. So I go back to there. I see that I'm rolling right. I snap the stick left. I bury it. I let off the G's to try and make sense of it. 4,000 feet I'm passing, and I'm slowed down to just below 400 knots. And I can't tell if I'm inverted or right side up or inverted.
Jeez.
I just couldn't tell. 3,000. I see it. I tried to do a quick unload to get it to stop and go, am I inverted or not, and reload. In other words, if the rate of the altimeter slowed down, I was probably, maybe I could throw it in the burner and scrape it below 2. But it was a futile attempt because I hit 2,000 so fast, and I just went right into ejection. I got to get out, and I pulled the handles, and that was it. And
wow.
When I pulled the handles, I thought the seat was broken. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I made it this far, and the seat's broken. Or did I forget to arm it? And I actually took a look to make sure I didn't forget to arm the seat, but it was armed. But that temporal distortion, that 0.18 seconds, just time completely slows down.
Wow.
And I thought I was going into the drink, but next thing I know, I'm getting the wind knocked out of me, and I don't know if it's me hitting the water or me going up the rails, but I was basically transitioning at that point. And thank God I lived, 0.87 seconds left to go. That was it.
That's what they determined, how long before you were outside the envelope?
Yeah. It was 9 seconds of trying to recover, and I had 0.87 seconds left to live. Yeah.
And you had your NVGs on, right? You were still wearing the goggles, which is something
still wearing the goggles.
That'll kill you by itself.
Yeah, I was still wearing the goggles, trying to make sense of all this, as I'm going down, and I just couldn't figure it out. I didn't have enough time. I mean, maybe somebody else could have. I don't know. But for me, it was just, I think I went through all 3 spatially. I'm definitely, I don't ever claim to be Chuck Yeager. That's for sure. That's not me. I have to work at it like everybody else. But that night, I couldn't solve the problem quick enough. The only thing I could do was punch out.
Wow.
Yeah.
So once you were in the water, was it hard finding the raft and getting all the stuff? I mean, you're in the middle of the ocean now, or the Gulf.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pitch black.
It's pitch black. I could not see my hand in front of my face. I literally did this, and I couldn't see my hand. It was that dark. And but your training kicks right in. I mean, our training is so good, as you know.
Yeah.
That I started sweeping, and I found the line. Next thing I know, I pulled the raft to me. Boom. Here's the raft. It bumps into your helmet, and you just jump in and you start going to town, and feeling around. And I did everything by feel because I couldn't see anything. And I started just feeling around for my equipment. And the cool part about it was at this point, it's not cool, but it's just that I saw some lights flickering off the water, and I'm like, the heck is that?
Yeah.
And I took a look out, and I thought it was a boat. So by the time I'm in my raft, I check for my LED. I see my beacons going. I can see the small green beacon at my feet, and just a little tiny LED going off. So I don't know, that thing's working. So, it's doing its thing. But then I started focusing on this light on the water, and it turns out it was a boat. It was a shrimper out there. So I started feeling around kind of frantically looking for the bandolier flares, man. I'm like, I got to get this guy over here because it was cold. It was January, and the water was 65 degrees or something like that. And that undercast had created, I mean, there was some wind. I mean, it was probably blowing 15, gust 25, and 6 to 8 foot seas. So it was kind of a rough water night. But every now and then through the wave heights, I could see this boat light come up and down. And I finally got the bandolier flare that set up, and I was able to seat those things. I started firing those things off, and I could see him coming up and correcting course, after each one I shot. But I tried to get that night end out, as he's coming. I could actually see them pulling in nets
Yeah.
I lit that night end off, but the outriggers, I think, were so bright from that shrimp boat that it drowned out my flare, and he just coasted right by.
Oh no.
Yeah, he coasted right by. Now, but here's the crazy part. That shrimp boat picked up my ejection seat. And my ejection seat is in my house today.
How did the wow.
The shrimp he was so close to my position that he got my seat caught in his shrimp net.
Did he see, and they delivered the crash? Had he seen the crash or anything?
I don't know. Yeah. Never got to talk to the guy. All I know is they sent the seat to they said, we think we have something of yours, and the safety team, the investigation team went out and picked up the seat. It showed up at some shrimp dock somewhere.
But it now, was sorry, go ahead.
No, it was my actual ejection seat, and it's sitting in my house right now.
But so it wasn't a boat that got you; it was a helicopter, right?
Yeah, that shrimp boat went past, and I lost him. So now it was just time to get on with the search and rescue and help my guy. My wingman had to come find me, and I finally got him to my position, and then eventually Navy Key West got some guys out of bed and put them in a Black Hawk, and they came and got me about an hour and 40 minutes later. Yeah.
So an hour and 40 minutes in the water, but correct me if I'm wrong. That's not the end of that story, right? Wasn't there some stuff in the helicopter too with the ACMI?
Yeah. That was crazy. This is, there's a little survivor's guilt possibly, stuff going on here. So back in those, as you know, in the older days when to create a 3-dimensional picture to debrief to, we used to put pods on the jet, and we would send, in order to make that happen, they built towers out in the water where we used to fight, and that way it could send a signal to the pod, and then you would take the data and go back to your debrief room and build a 3-dimensional picture and debrief to it. Well, technology, Moore's law, here we go, those things became obsolete. And so they became obsolete. They weren't maintained. The batteries and the lighting on them went out long ago, and now they're just obstacles in the water out there. Well, turns out the helicopter, when they picked me up, they went to debrief, and they were looking at their tapes, and they had to do wait, what was that? And they did a rewind, and an ACMI tower was grossly close to the rotor blades. They never even saw it. Yeah.
Back in the water.
we could have gone back in again. Yeah. It would have been bad. Yeah. So there was some luck and divine intervention on that night, but thank God it all worked out. I got home to my kids, my wife.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.